I've previous work, I've previously been working in the manufacturing industry, and then I moved on to the construction industry. And from that, I saw an opportunity to work as a QHSC manager for Ijada in the FM industry, facilities management. And now recently, I've moved back to construction again. So what I want to say is that I've got like different multifaceted experience, which I've really used in the, development of these management systems for the companies. So before we proceed, I would request all of you to have some sort of notebooks or pencils, anything that you have that you can use to note down some points, because I would rather want this session to be very interactive rather than just reading out the slides, right? So for that, I would really appreciate if you could just, get done with the, settling down and have a pen, pencil, or a notebook with you to note down stuff and just confirm, and inshallah, then we'll start. I'll take 2 minutes, and meanwhile, I'll also prepare the slides for you guys. Sounds good?
Okay, Sarmad, I'll stop the sharing from my side and you can start sharing from your screen, okay?
All right, Furkan bhai.
Meanwhile, guys, please grab a pen and pencil. The session is going to be very, very informative. And I've been through a lot of training sessions in my career. I spent 20 years in the industry. And believe me, Sarmad is a very interesting character. And I hope he'll keep you engaged. So try to get involved in the session. The more you get involved, the greater will be your learning experience. If you just sit there and wait for the slides to pass on and move, and you'll fall asleep, okay? So try to interact with the trainer, ask questions, discussions. This is, the appropriate way of learning. So just sitting there and listening to Sarmer talk or give a lecture, or just watching the screen, you won't learn much. So I hope you guys have grabbed a pen and pencil and then a notebook in the time for the, and let's get back to Sarmad. Sarmad, you got the control now.
Yes, sure, Furkan bhai. I can even share the screen, which I'll be sharing in a moment. 1 second. I hope everybody can see the screen.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes,
Okay.
visible.
So guys, before we proceed with this, right, I just want to know my audience a bit better, so it'll be easier for me to establish, a base level from which we can proceed, with the discussions. So, how many of you have already got some experience with auditing, or already have an understanding of what a management system is, what auditing is? Just raise your hands. Just raise your hands so I can see. Okay, we've got one. Okay, we've got two. Daniel.
First, I'll need your permission
Right.
to give personal results. You can make that change.
Right. So I see a couple of hands raised. Great. So how we'll proceed with this is that we'll start off from the very basics. So because in order to understand, in order to comprehend, or in order to tackle this topic, we first need to have a background established of why is there a need for a management system. Okay, why is there a need for a management system? What is the difference between a standard and a management systems? Why do we have management systems? What do we mean by auditing, and so on and so forth, right? So first of all, when we talk about a management system, right, a management system is in place to manage the risk, right? To manage any risk, organizations tend to have a management system in place, right? But before understanding what a management system is, we have to understand what risk is, because management system is a tool that is being used for risk management. So when we talk about risk management, management system is a tool that we use to control those different risks. Now, when we talk about risk or risk management, right? Let's understand risk from the very basic level, from the very foundational level, right? So I want you to ponder on this point that everything in the world has two sides to it. Everything has a risk and everything has an opportunity. When we talk about the risk being there, we're talking about the negative risk being there. And when we talk about the opportunity, that is the positive effect of the risk. Okay. So when we talk about risk, we've got risks and opportunities, right? To understand this in a better way, let's start off with our daily life activities. So let's talk about eating. Like right, eating is a very necessary activity that we all need to do to keep ourselves going, right? Now, guys, what do you think is the risk when we talk about eating? When we eat, what do you think is the risk? Anyone?
That if we are not chewing the properly, it will affect our lungs and it will not digest properly. It has the risk. If when we eat something, when we do not chewing the food properly, so our digestive system is not working proper. So it will affect our stomach.
Okay, right. So we can say that when we talk about eating, one of the risks is that we can get sick, right? We If we eat more, we can get obese. If we eat less, we will be undernutrition. We will have this malnutrition factor. If we eat uh, the food that is stale, we'll again get sick, right? And if we overeat, we get obese. So these are some of the risks when we talk about eating. Okay, now these are the risks. What do you think are some of the opportunities, some of the positive risks, or some of the benefits when we eat?
Sir, when we eat fresh food, we will become healthier.
Okay, we will have the energy to run our bodily functions, right? It will supply us with the nutrients, with the energy to carry out our daily functions, right? So this is one of the opportunities when we talk about eating. Remember, we are discussing this to gain an understanding of risk. We're trying to understand risk here, right? So, how do we manage the risk with eating? We try to eat fresh food. We try not to eat stale food. We try to eat healthy food. We try to avoid things that have been prescribed by the doctor as being bad for us. We try to get more vitamins. So this, we can say, in a way, is how we manage the risks while eating, right? Now, another short example, and then we'll proceed. There's another activity that a lot of us, every time we do that, walking, right? We walk, we run, we drive. So what do you think is the risk when we walk? Of course, there's a risk, there's a side of risk attached to everything, right? So what is the risk when we walk?
We can slip, trip, and fall.
Exactly. We can slip, we can trip, we can fall, we can collide with an object, right? So these are some of the risks when we walk. What is the opportunity? What is the positive side of risk when we walk?
Sir,
It's good
as
for to get
we know
exercise,
that
getting trained.
walk is good for health. So if you walk regularly 7,000 steps, it is good for our health.
Okay, so it's it's a bit of an exercise for us. It's good for an health, and most importantly, it helps us get from one place to another place, correct? It helps us get from one place to another place. That is the opportunity. So similarly, with everything that we do, right? There's a risk and there's an opportunity. Now, these were the daily things that we talked about, right? I hope you guys are, noting whatever you want to note down. That's going to be very beneficial for you guys, right? So we discussed risk versus opportunity. Now let's talk about business risks, right? Can you name some? Of course, every business is different than the other business. Every business has a different context. They provide different services. They employ different people. They are situated in different geographical areas, right? They have different customers. They've got different clients. They've got different legal authorities, different legislation that they need to adhere to. So there's a lot of factors that differentiate one business from the other business, right? So when we talk about business, can you name some of the business risks? I mean, I'm sure each business has different types of risks, right? So can you just name some of the business risks, keeping in mind the organization that you're working for?
The one COVID pandemic situation, so we have considered the COVID situation as a business risk.
All right,
So most of the business interrupted on that time. So
right,
we considered in the COVID pandemic in the business risk assessment.
right. It was
Not
a risk to
financial
the
risk.
supply chain. It was a
Hmm.
risk to the business activities. It was a risk to the health of the people. It was a risk to business reputation, right? What other risks? What do you think are some of the other risks that a business might have?
Yeah, it can be logistic also. The logistic was also, affected.
Operational risks or
Transportation.
financial risk, strategically risks, and I think compliance risk as well.
Great, great. So now I want you to focus, okay? When we talk about risks, when we talk about business risks, right? A business has risks coming in from different directions. There's a risk from cybersecurity. There's a risk from quality, right? If your quality is poor, your customer is not going to be satisfied. Your product is not going to be that fit for use, right? There's a risk from the environment.
Department.
You can damage the environment. There's a risk from health and safety, the health and safety of the people. There's a risk in from power management, right? There's a risk from cyber security. There's a risk from IT. Companies that deal in food business have a risk from food safety. So all of these are the different risks that are being faced by an organization. These risks are being faced by an organization. Of course, these risks are different for different organizations. These are not the same for all of the organizations. Okay. So every business, according to their nature, has different risks that are affecting that business. Okay. Now hold that thought. When we talk about risk management, it's all about managing all of these risks that are coming into from different directions. The organization has to manage these risks, right? And managing these risks, organizations have management systems in place. Okay. So why do organizations have a management system in place? To manage these risks. To manage risks from quality, the organization will have a quality management system in place. To manage risks from health and safety, the organization will have a health and safety management system in place. To manage risks from cybersecurity, the organization will have a cybersecurity management system in place, right? To manage risks from, let's say, you know uh, business continuity, right? That if anything disrupts the business, they will have a business continuity management system in place. To manage the risks from power, they'll have a power manage this energy management system in place. So all of these different facets are or all of these different risks that an organization is exposed to are being controlled using management systems, different management systems for all of these risks. Okay. So that is what a management system is. That is what we mean by a management system. Okay. For example, right now we're studying quality, right? So we'll talk just about the QMS, the quality management system. Okay. So far, we've discussed risk and opportunity. Okay. And we have discussed the different types of risks that a business can encounter. And we also have discussed about management systems, what the need for the management system is, what a management system really is. Okay, now we'll talk about ISO standards, right? ISO publishes different standards, and all of these standards are there to run your management systems. Okay, for example, to implement and develop a quality management system, ISO gives you a standard that, okay, this is the standard 9001, and you have to follow this standard. And when you follow this standard, you can have your management system up to the mark. Your management system will be okay, full screen. See messages, please. Can you share the recording? Sure, Benji, we'll talk about it. Okay. So we were talking about ISO standards. So for each of these management systems, ISO publishes standards. For occupational health and safety management system, ISO has published a standard ISO 45001. For EMS, the environmental management system, ISO has published a standard ISO 14001. Okay, for quality management, ISO has published a standard ISO 9001. So similarly, for these different risks that an organization, that a business is facing, okay, ISO has published different standards that will be used to set up these management systems. I hope this is, because this is very important to understand. I hope this is pretty much clear to every one of you, correct? Any questions up till here? Any questions up till
Yes, sir, I have a question. Sir,
Yes.
why ISO is set up all these standards for the quality or risk? Is there any other body who is setting these standards and which will be very authentic to the relevant business?
Okay, I'll come back to that. Any other question, guys? Yes, Paul or Benji, nothing? Okay, guys. So coming back to Faisal's question, why, right? So when we talk about this question, we need to understand, we need to go back into the years. We need to go back to the history of ISO, right? So during the Second World War, right, there was an we can say an economic lockdown on the country because there was this world war going on. The economies of different countries were devastated. uh, Businesses were suffering, right? And there was a very pressing, a very important problem that had occurred, that different uh, uh, there were different trade barriers between different countries. As an example, Germany was using cannons, right? Those was the time when those were the times when there were these cannons that were being used. Yes, you raised your hand. Okay. So those cannons were being used, right? And uh, we know how a cannon operates, right? You fit a cannonball into the cannon, right? And you fire it up and it fires that ball over to a distance. Yes, Faisal.
Sorry, sir. Yes, continue, please.
Okay, okay. So that is why you need a cannonball. You feed that cannonball into the cannon, you fire, you light it up, and it fires the cannonball wherever you want to hit it, the target. So Germany procured some cannonballs from another country. Now we should note that the cannons in both countries are the same. Germany was using the same cannon as the other country from where it imported those cannonballs, right? But when the product was delivered, it did not fit the cannon. What was the reason? Products being developed in another part of the world were not compatible with the products in another part of the world, right? So there were a lot of trade barriers. So then they came up with this idea, right, that okay, if we have internationally recognized standards, that means that if one product in any part of the world is designed as per those standards, okay, and another product in another part of the world is also designed as per those standards, it would be compatible. And when it would be compatible, it would resolve these trade barriers, it would resolve these supply chain and procurement issues, and it would uh, work towards a faster economic recovery of the world, right? So the very first standards that were published by ISO were the ISO 9001 standards. And after that, they kept on producing more standards, and to date we have more than 24,000 standards. 9001 is one of those standards, and it is referred to as the mother of standards because it was the very first standard, and this is the most widely used standard in the world. So this answer your question about why we need a standard. Your second question was that, okay, we've got ISO standards. Are there any other standards as well? Yes, there are other standards. The most prominent being ANZI, ANZI. Okay, there's ANZI, Z10, Z8. These are the standards that are developed by the yeah, American certification system. These are not being published by ISO. But why ISO is so widely recognized? Because these are being backed by the UN. Okay, and these are mostly used all over the world, and everything is more compatible. So that is why we use ISO more. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Now, again, is there any EU standard body? Okay, Junaid, I'll come back to your question. You've got BSEN standards, you've got different standards. All of these are also EU standards body. EU standards, we've got different EU standards as well. But I'll come back to that when we are in that specific part. Okay, so up till now, what do we know? We have uh, we have discussed risk and opportunity. We have discussed the different types of business risks. Just give me a second. Malim, I'm in a session. I'll call you back. Okay, so we discussed risk versus opportunity. We discussed what are some different types of business risks. Okay, to control each of these different types of business risks, we have management systems in place. So now we know why we need management systems. Okay, and then we understood the relationship between a management system and an ISO standard. Okay, and then we discussed about the history, brief history of ISO, and why do we need ISO or why do we need standards. I hope everybody is with me up till here so I can proceed. Correct?
So for all clear, sir. We can proceed.
Okay, great. So when we talk about these ISO standards, ISO publishes two types of standards. Okay, type A standards and type B standards. Okay, again, type A standards and type B standards. Type A standards are the standards based on which management systems are certified. For example, ISO 9001 is a type A standard. What do we mean by that? You will be checked, you will be audited first. And after the audit, your organization will be certified as per the standard. So it's like the standard will tell you the requirements. Okay. The standard is going to state out all of the requirements to you. Based on these requirements, your organization will set up your management system. Okay, and then your management system will be checked, will be audited as per the standard, according to the standard. And after the auditing, after the checking, if it is seen that, okay, all of the requirements of the standard have been fulfilled by the management system, then a certificate is issued, a certification is issued. That is why we see organizations that are ISO certified, ISO 9001 certified, 45001 certified, 14001 certified. So what it really is that their management systems have been set up according to the requirements of the standard. After that, they have been checked, they have been audited, and when they've been audited, they have been found to fulfill the requirements. Okay, and then they are certified. Okay, the people who conduct these audits are auditors, and the one who is leading the team to conduct these audits is the lead auditor. Okay, so that is what lead auditor or auditing is all about. So we're talking about two types of standards. I'll get back to that. So first type of standards, the type A standards. What do we mean by the type A standards? The type A standards are the standards based on which management systems are certified. Those are the type A standards. Now, there are some type B standards as well. Type B standards are only requirements. Okay. Type B standards do not state that, okay, your management system will be certified. They are just guidelines. They are not requirements. They're just guidelines, type B standards. For example, when we talk about the ISO 45001 family, now 45001 is the standard for occupational health and safety management. Okay, so ISO 45001 is a type A standard. It means that management systems are certified on the basis of fulfilling the requirements of ISO 45001, whereas ISO 45002, 3, 4, and 5, all of these are just guidelines. For example, ISO 45005 provides you with guidelines on how to manage your organization's activities during the coronavirus. Okay. Similarly, they give you some of the guidelines. There are no requirements. So your management systems will not be certified with respect to type B standards. Okay. I hope that we understand the difference between type A standard and type B standard, right? Right, guys?
Yeah, it's clear, sir.
Okay. So if any of you has noted down something, can you just quickly give us a recap of what we've discussed? It will be beneficial for everyone. I'll give you a head start. Let's start from risk. We started off from risk. Who will be able to recap this?
I can go through.
Yes, please. Please.
Everything has two sides. One is risk and one is opportunity. Risk is negative side, opportunity is positive side. So in each business, there are certain different type of risk, like accidents, reputation lost, competition in the market. It could be prosecution, legal actions, and all that stuff. So these are risks. Every organization need
Stop you
a
here. I'll stop you here. See,
Yeah.
when we talk about the different risks of a business, we're differentiating the business risks on the basis of the sources. Okay.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
the effects, on the basis of the sources. So it means that different business risks are risks from quality, risks from environment, risks from health and safety, risks from business continuity, risks from power management. Now, as a result of all these risks, okay, you're right. Whatever you said, the prosecution, legal, financial loss, legal loss, reputational loss, these are all results of the risks. Okay, but these are not the risks themselves. The risks themselves are risks from quality, risks from health and safety, risks from the environment side, risks from business continuity, risks from power management, risks from cybersecurity. So these are the different domains that the risk is being exposed to a business. Okay.
Thanks for clearing, sir. Thank you. Yeah, it's
Sir,
okay.
it means that these risks exposed like a legal prosecution, and these are the sources which exposed our business.
Yes, for example, if you have a legal notice, okay, you will have that legal notice either due to the environmental effects, either due to the quality effects, for example, either due to health and safety. So those are results, these legal enforcement notices, loss of reputation, loss of financials, bad image of the company, bad business to the company, increased insurance premiums. All of these are results of the risk. But when we talk about those risks, we need to talk about the source where those risks are coming from. So, what are the different sources?
Sir, quality, safety, environment, business continuity, power management, and cybersecurity.
All of these are the different risks of a business. Okay, go on, please.
So then we studied about the history of ISO.
No,
Why
no,
did
no. We talk about business risks. What did we talk about after business risks? That to manage each of these risks, to manage each of these different risks, what do companies do?
Different risks are managed by management systems of organizations.
We
Exactly.
prepare the
The organization
Usually,
has a
management.
management system in place
Yeah.
to control, to manage each of these different risks. So each of these different risks are being managed using a management system. That's what a management system is. So separate management system for separate different types of risks, from which now we are focusing on ISO 9001. So my next question, my next open question to all of you. What is the difference between, or what is the difference, or what is the relation between a management system and an ISO standard?
Sir, ISO
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 publish
Sir, ISO provide the standards. They set the standards for us. And management system, we have the own system we are using at our company. So then we are following the ISO standards. We are bring the ISO standard in put in our management system.
Okay, great.
ISO publish different standards, and then organizations uses them to manage their systems, to manage different risks. This is the link between them.
According to the standards. So these management systems are developed according to the standards. Okay, next question. What do these standards provide that makes it easier to develop a management system? What really is within these standards that is used for a management system?
they provide set of instructions, guidelines?
Requirements,
The
okay?
requirement.
These standards provide requirements. Those requirements are fulfilled by what?
Management system.
Exactly. The management system fulfills those requirements. Okay. And when your management system fulfills those requirements, what happens?
You will get the
Controlling
certificate.
risk.
You will get certified for it.
Okay.
That's
But to get certified, what will be done before getting certified?
Risk.
Conformity.
Audited.
Yes. What is auditing? Auditing means checking, right? So your management system will be checked. And after your management system is checked, for what is going to be checked? It's going to be checked whether it is fulfilling the requirement of the standard or not. Okay. So after your management system is being audited, a certification is issued. Okay, Wakas, go on. What did we discuss after this? So we're done with ISO standards, right? We now understand what the relation between a management system and an ISO standard is.
Yeah, then we
Yes.
discussed about the history of ISO, that why how it started and why world felt the need of this to have. after Second World War, when Germany, they had some issue with the product cannonballs, and then they brainstormed to have some centralized system to set some standards, to have compatibility across the globe. So then this ISO system started to develop, and their standards. So at the moment we have 24,000 plus ISO standards. There are two types of standards of ISO standards: the type A standard and type B standard. Type B standard, they are just guidelines. They are not. They are just guidelines. And type A standard is the main standard that are based on ISO. You are audited on those standards, and you are declared as certified or
What is the
compliant
difference
with that.
what is the difference between a type A standard and a type B standard?
Type B standard is just guidelines. It's not a requirement, or it's not mandatory for organizations. It just gives you a set of guidelines, that you can get some information to to incorporate in your management system. But the type A standards, they are based on the audits. You are being audited on type A standards, and you are declared as the compliant or ISO certified.
Exactly. Okay. So when we talk about certification, right? When we talk about certification, I hope you guys can see the screen, right?
Yes, it's visible here.
Okay. So when we talk about certification, the thing that we need to understand is the process of certification. Okay. Now, okay, we understand that a management system is checked, a management system is audited, and after that checking or after that auditing, an organization is certified, and the management system, I mean, is certified, right? But we also need to understand the certification process, what the certification process really is. Okay. Now, can you give me an idea of how many organizations around the world would be presently? The world would have how many organizations? Million, 10 millions, 100 million, right?
Will be in millions, yeah.
Okay. So is it practically possible for ISO to certify all of those?
No, it's not possible for one institution to manage and deal with millions of organizations at the same time.
Exactly. That is where accreditation comes in. Okay. Accreditation bodies are accredited from ISO, and their only job is to manage the certification bodies. Okay. These accreditation bodies manage the certification bodies. Okay. And these certification bodies provide organizations with certification. Okay. These certification bodies provide the organizations with certification. Okay. So what we need to understand is that ISO keeps a check on the accreditation bodies. These accreditation bodies then keep a check on certification bodies. Okay. And these certification bodies go forward and conduct the audits of different organizations' management systems, and they provide them with certifications. Okay. So when we talk about an organization applying for a certification, or an organization trying to get a certification, the organization will only deal with the certification body. The organization will not deal with the accreditation body. No. The only liaison would be between the organizations and the certifications body. Okay.
So
I
clear,
hope
sir.
that we can move on, right? Okay. So when we talk about certification, okay, now we all understand that certification is the process through which management systems get certified with respect to all of these standards. Okay. Something in the chat box. Who is accreditation body? Nice question. See, accreditation bodies are usually those who also help in drafting the standards, right? And they are directly under the influence of ISO. So what ISO has to do is to only manage these accreditation bodies. They don't have to go forward and look for these certification bodies. Okay, how are they doing? What are their processes? Why and how are they doing what they're doing? All of those headaches are for the accreditation bodies. As far as ISO is concerned, yes, they only manage the accreditation bodies, but ISO themselves is not an accreditation body. Okay. So moving on. Now, let's imagine that your organization, okay, they have a management system in place to manage quality. Okay, they have a quality management system in place. And to get this quality management system certified, they need to go for a certification. Okay. And for this certification, they reach out to a certification body, maybe SGS, Lloyd's. There are tons of certification bodies. So your organization reaches out to a certification body and asks them to, okay, please, we want to get our management system certified. Okay. So that is the first process in certification. That is the inquiry. Okay. When the auditee, okay, auditee is the organization that wants to get audited, that wants to get their management system certified. So they submit an inquiry. Yes, IRCA and Exemplar are accreditation bodies. For example, if we talk about this course, okay, uh, guys, this is a question in the chat box that IRCA, CQI, or Exemplar Global is accreditation body. Now, here we're talking about certification of individuals, not organizations, right? So yes, for that you have IRCA and Exemplar Global, both are accreditation bodies. Okay. Now there are different institutes that are affiliated with IRCA and Exemplar. IRCA, okay. So IRCA is an accreditation body, Exemplar Global is an accreditation body. And ATC, Absolute Training Consulting, this institute of ours, okay, this is a certification body. So ATC is certifying different individuals on the behalf of IRCA and Exemplar Global, whoever the auditee chooses, right? So ATC's processes are being checked by IRCA and Exemplar Global, whereas the auditee, the certification that ATC is providing, the people to whom ATC is providing the certifications, ATC is providing those on behalf of IRCA and Exemplar. Okay. But there is no direct coordination between the accreditation body and the auditee. Okay. So I hope that's clear, Junaid. 1 second, please. Yes, yes, Hasib, please. You raised your hand. Okay.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, yes, Hasib, please.
I have just question regarding the audit.
Okay.
So there's two type of audit. We have a project specific audit and one audit for the certification. So how the
Okay.
project specific audit is different from the certification audit? For example, we have a quarterly audit in our project carried out by third party companies. For example, Bureau Veritas, TUV, these. So they are not related for the certifying the organization. That are like a project specific audit.
Okay.
So how they are
Okay,
different?
Hasib. See, this course that we have designed for you, it consists of two parts. Okay. The first part is understanding the standard. Okay. And the second part is about auditing. In the first part, we'll understand the standard, what the standard is, what the requirement for the standard is. Right now, we have not even started discussing that. Right now, I'm just giving you a background to understand what management systems are, what certification is, what certification bodies are, what auditees are, what the process of certification is. After I give you this background, we're going to understand what the requirements of the standard are, how the standard has been shaped, how to understand the requirements of the standard. Okay, that will be the first part. And the second part will be all about auditing, right? So I want to move
Got
through a sequence where all of us completely understand this. So I hope that you can just bear for a little, and inshallah we'll be discussing that. Okay.
Okay.
However, if you still want to discuss on this, we can discuss this at the end of the lecture. But I really want that sequence to prevail. That will help all of us gain a better understanding. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. So we are talking about certification. So first of all, the auditee reaches out to, for example, let's say I am the auditee. I want my management system certified. Hasib is the certification body. So I reach out to Hasib. That would be an inquiry. Then Hasib, the certification body, would send me an application form, right? When they send me an application form, that in that form they would ask more information about my organization. Okay, so that would be the application stage. After the application stage, there are two types of audit: stage 1 audit and stage 2 audit. During the stage 1 audit, they will make sure that, okay, is the management system mature enough so that we can, is conducting the audit feasible or is it not feasible? And then stage 2 is a more detailed audit. Again, guys, we will discuss this in the coming sessions. Don't worry, I'm just trying to impart an idea to you. Okay, so first of all, you have a stage 1 audit, then a stage 2 audit, and after the stage 2 audit, a certificate is issued. Now, when a certificate is issued, this is valid for 3 years. Okay, so the first year you have the certificate, the second year you have the surveillance audits, just to check, just to follow up on the findings, and on the third year again you have a recertification audit. So this is an example of the certification cycle or the certification flow chart. Okay, so moving on, we now understand what accreditation is, we now understand what certification is. Now I have a question, guys. What do we mean by clauses? What do you think we mean by clauses? What do you mean by the word clauses? What do you understand by the word clause?
Maybe not sure, but like if we are when we are dividing a standard into a different parts into a substandard, like besides a class of that standard.
No, I'm asking on very general, on very generic terms. What do you think is, what do you think we mean by clauses? See, whenever we have an agreement with someone, we have an agreement, for example, the tenancy contract when we rent out a place for us to live. We have a contract when we do any of these transactions with the bank, whether we secure a personal loan, we go for credit cards, we go for auto finance, we go for mortgage. All of these are contracts, right? Then, for example, when we work with a company, all of us have contracts with the company. Now, those contracts are on the basis of agreements. Okay, that contract is an agreement that is based on different requirements. So those requirements are the clauses. For example, in the employment contract, some of the clauses can be, okay, for notice period you have a clause, for gratuity you have a clause, for resigning you have a clause, for the salary you have a clause, right? Similarly, when we talk about renting out, yeah, yani your tenancy contract, you have a clause, okay, this time you won't be able to live, you have a clause for security deposit. So clause is a requirement within a contract. Okay, we will build up on this. So guys, now we have discussed the very basic things already, so that you know what management system is, what standards are, right? Now we will be focusing on the 9001 standard. Now we'll slowly move towards focusing on the 9001 standard. Okay, yes, Wally, we can refer to requirements. Yes, you're right. Okay, so now we'll move on to and towards understanding the standard, right? We'll take 5 minutes break and we'll come back after 5 minutes. Okay, guys? Please be back by 8:30 Saudi time or 9:30 UAE time or 10:30 Pakistan time. 5 minutes.
Yes.
All right, guys, please confirm once you're back, so we'll resume.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Others,
Yes, sir.
please just raise your hand so I know. Okay, great.
अस्सलाम सरमद साहब।
Walaikum assalam.
सर जी
Yes, sir.
मैं तो जुलाई में आपसे ISO 45,001 करके गए थे।
अच्छा,
अभी इसका क्या प्रोसीजर होगा, कि मतलब 2 क्लासेस है या ये एक ही क्लास में फिनिश करना है?
नहीं 5 डेज की क्लासेस हैं इसकी।
कंटिन्यूस है?
सॉरी जी, कल के दिन नहीं होगी। कल के दिन नहीं होगी
जी
और उसके बाद फिर लगातार 4 दिन होगी, 5 दिन पे भी जा सकती है। वो डिपेंड करता है हमारी डिस्कशन कैसे रहती है। और उसके बाद हम एक प्रैक्टिस ऑडिट भी, प्रैक्टिस टेस्ट भी करेंगे, जो कि
जी
इरका के टेस्ट पे हम प्रैक्टिस कर लेंगे। और दिस इज फ्री फॉर एवरीवन, in a sense that if you only want to learn and if you don't want to go for a certification, for a certificate, this is absolutely free for you. But of course, if you feel that okay, now you understand things and it would be beneficial for you, which of course is very beneficial, if you think that you need to go for certification, you can proceed, of course. But other than that, this
ओके।
is
हाँ
for everyone. So start करते हैं. Let's start. We're talking about, now we will talk specifically about the standard. Okay, the standard ISO 9001. 1 second. Okay, just give me a second, guys. Let me open up. Okay, so just confirm and you can see the screen. I hope everybody can see the screen.
यस
Okay, great. So this is the standard. Guys, just give me a second, please. I need to conjure up the standard. Just please just bear with me for a minute. So when we're talking about the standard is a book, book or a document that has been published by ISO. Okay, I'm sharing the screen again. So this is the standard in front of you. Now this document has been published by ISO, and this document contains all of the requirements that you need. Okay, so when we talk about ISO standard, we are talking about this document. Okay, first we need to understand this, that when we talk about the standard, we're talking about this document. So first of all, what we need to understand is how to read a standard. First of all, we need to understand on how to read the standard. Okay, question: why do we need to read the standard?
To understand the guidelines.
Exactly, to understand the requirements, not the guidelines. Okay, so to understand the requirements, where will we use these requirements?
For
To develop
implementing the management
for
system in our
setting of
organization.
management system.
For
Exactly,
certification.
for developing our management system according to these requirements. Okay, So how do we read the standard? This is what we'll discuss. Number one. Let me just, okay. This is number one and this is number two. Have you guys seen this picture before? Have you seen this picture on the left before? Anyone?
A
Yes, sir.
PDCA cycle, yeah, would you have little?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
EMS.
Okay. So
High
this
level structure.
is the brief breakdown of the clauses. On the left side, you can see all of these clauses. Okay. So clause 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These clauses have been derived from this document. Okay. Here we have all the clauses. See, 4 is context, 5 is, sorry.
No, I don't come that into.
Guys, please mute kindly. Okay. So you can see that this has been derived. For example, clause 5 leadership, clause 6 planning, clause 7 support, clause 8 operation, clause 4 context of the organization. Okay. So this picture is a summary of the requirements of the standard. This picture is a summary of the requirements of the standard. Okay. So what do we mean by clauses? I'll come back to the question again. Guys, what do we mean by clauses?
Requirement.
Clauses are the requirements. Okay. The requirements within the agreements. Okay. So on base of fulfilling these requirements, it means that you are fulfilling the agreement that you have with anything. That is the generic meaning of clauses. Okay. Now we will discuss how to read the standard. This is very important. Okay. So let's see. This is the standard document published by ISO. Okay. Can you please share the standard? Yes, we'll share this within the group, Farooq. Okay. So this is the international standard published by ISO. Now, what you need to remember is that the standard has been divided into two parts. Okay. To read the standard, to understand the requirements, you need to understand that the standard has been divided into two parts. The first part is all of these clauses that have been stated. So the first part is the requirements. Okay. Up till here, all of these 10 clauses, all of these clauses have been explained. The requirements have been explained. And the second part is Annexure A, clarification on those requirements, further understanding of those requirements. Remember, we are now discussing on how to read a standard, how to understand, how to interpret the requirements, how to fully understand. Okay, because what does an auditor do? An auditor will audit the management system. So before auditing the management system, an auditor needs to have an understanding of two things: the standard itself and the process of auditing. So first, we're going to discuss the standard itself. Okay. Can we? Yes, sure. You can get the recordings. No problem at all. Okay. So now, when we talk about this reading the standard, there are two parts. Okay. So far we know there are two types of standards, type A, type B standards. Then when we read the document of the standards, there are two parts of these standards. Okay. And when we talk about these clauses, right? These are also two types of clauses. So let's start with the clauses. There are two types of clauses: auditable clauses and non-auditable clauses. Auditable clauses will be used during the requirements. Auditable clauses will give you the requirements, and non-auditable clauses will only explain about the standard itself. So totally we have 10 clauses. Okay. Out of these 10, the first three are non-auditable clauses. This number one, scope. number 2, normative references, and number 3, terms and definitions. So these 3 clauses are the non-auditable clauses. These clauses only provide you with the understanding of the standard itself. These do not contain requirements. And you can see that in this table here, okay, you only have the auditable clauses because it's starting from 4 up till 10. So 4 to 10 are the auditable clauses, and 1 to 3 are the non-auditable clauses. Okay, so when we talk about the first clause, this is clause 1. So this is about the scope. Okay, what the quality standard is for. So what is the scope? That your products should meet the customer demands and the statutory and regulatory requirements. This is the first part, that okay, you're using this standard, you're implementing this standard. Why are you implementing this standard? That would be the scope. Okay, so number 1, to have your product according to the requirements of the customer. Number 2, to fulfill the legal and regulatory requirements. Okay, and the second part is that it will enhance the customer satisfaction. Okay, and it will assure that the product is in conformance with the customer requirements, the statutory, the legal requirements. Okay, so what do we mean by normative references?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Sir, when I was sporting the ISO 45001 with my officer, the meaning of scope was the area. But here, these are the products.
See, that is the scope for the management system. You need to understand, management system and standard are two different things. Okay, the scope of the management system will be different than the scope of the standard. Okay, scope of the management system will be the areas on which the management system is applied, what you're trying to say, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so scope of the management system and scope of the standard are two different things. Okay,
Okay, sir. Clear.
right. The second non-auditable clause is about normative references. What do we mean by normative references? Normative references is a document that you need to have in order to understand another document. Okay, for example, if you are reading a French novel, what do you think would be the normative reference that you would need? If you're reading a French novel, right?
Dictionary maybe.
Exactly, that dictionary will help you understand the first document, right? So similarly, normative references are is such a supporting document that you need to have in order to understand another document. Okay, and number 3, terms and definitions. Okay, all of these terms and definitions have been defined within these normative references. Okay, so these first 3 clauses are what? They are the non-auditable clauses. Okay, when in an audit, these clauses are not being used. They are only there for the understanding of the standard, right? Okay, now, first of all, question, guys. What are the two different parts of the standard? When we need to read the standard, what are the two different parts that we need to know in order to understand the requirements? What is the first part?
10 clauses.
Sorry?
Clauses.
Okay, and what is the second part?
This
Annexure.
this part.
Yes, annexure. A further explanation of the same clauses. Okay, for example, let's see. Now we'll see how we read a standard. Okay, so let's say that okay, let's see. For example, from the left side picture, you pick up any clause. Okay, for example, 4.1. Okay, So 4.1, you go back, you open the standard, right? You go to 4.1. Now, what does 4.1 says? The organization shall determine external and internal issues. Okay, that is what clause 4.1's requirement is, to determine the internal and external issues, right? Now, if you need more information on this 4.1 subclause, what will you do? You will go back to the second part of the standard. See, again, this is the second part of the standard, clarification, right? And again, you see all of those clauses have been mentioned, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you'll go up to clause 4 and it will give you a clarification for the standard. Okay, one more thing, guys. Bibliography will give you the references wherever, I mean, you don't need to understand this now, but just for the sake of discussion, bibliography, wherever some other standard has been mentioned within this standard, you can find that easily from the bibliography. Okay. So first of all, this is the way to understand we will go through all of this standard, through all of these clauses. Okay. But first we need to understand, okay, what do we need to do to know the requirements? What do we need to do to understand the standard? Right? So this is how we read the standard. Okay. First three are the non-auditable clauses, and then 4 to 10. This 4 to 10 are the auditable clauses. Okay. So all of these clauses provide you with the requirements. 4.1234, 5.123, 6.123, 7.123, 5, like that. All of the requirements have been stated. So an auditor should know two things mainly: the requirements of this standard, yani from the clauses, and the process of auditing. So first we'll be focusing on the standard itself. Okay. Yes, Asib. I see your hand is raised. Can you please lower it, or can you just ask the question if you?
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So, like you said, we need to know two things for the audit. One is standards. We need to read about it. We do need to have knowledge for that. And second is the process. So, just a question that we also do need to read like HSE management system of a company, or
No, see,
like a
you're talking
management
about,
system. Is it HSE or quality or environment, whatever? Like a management system of a company also do need to read, or
your management system is actually designed as per the standards. Okay. There's no
yeah.
specific document. Your management system is all about how you are fulfilling these requirements. You will not have one document for the management system like you have for the standard. You will pick
Okay.
up a requirement from the standard, and you will see, you will observe how that requirement is being fulfilled by the management system. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. So we now understand how to read the standard. Okay. Now we will dive deeper into the standard, but before we dive deeper into the standard, we need to understand something first. What we need to understand are 4 words that have been used inside the standard. Okay. These are the 4 verbal forms that have been used inside the standard. So wherever the word shall has been used, it means that it is a requirement. It is mandatory. Shall, the organization shall blah, 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 blah. Okay. So shall is signaling a mandatory requirement. Wherever the word should has been used, it indicates a recommendation, that it is recommended, although it is not mandatory. Wherever the word may has been used, it indicates a permission. And wherever the word can has been used, it indicates a possibility. So these 4 words: shall, should, may, and can. Okay. For example, I will show you that it says that the organization shall determine so and so. Okay, so this is now a mandatory requirement wherever the word shall has been used. Okay, so we need to understand this first of all, right? So now, because we're going to go through all of these clauses, right? All of these clauses that you can see from the contents, clause number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay, and 9 and 10. But before going through these clauses, we need to go through some terms and definitions. Terms and definitions, when we understand this, because these terms have been used inside the standard. What those terms are, like, for example, non-conformity, for example, management review, continual improvement, awareness, competence, objectives, roles and responsibilities, commitment, needs and expectation. So first of all, we need to understand these terms if we need to understand the requirements of the standard, right? So to understand these terms, we have this.
चाचा किधर गया?
Sorry. Okay. To understand these terms, right, we have all of these terms noted down into our slides, right? So first of all, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be understanding these terms, these different terms. Okay. But before that, right, we need to understand the PDCA cycle. How many of you are aware of what we mean by the PDCA cycle?
Plan, do, check, act.
Okay, so why? What is the main goal of implementing?
Continue. It's continual improvement.
Okay, and why do we need continual improvement? Why continual improvement?
What's the bet?
Sir, for management of system from base to up.
Okay. Yes, Makbul, your hand is raised. Guys, you can just interrupt me anytime. No need to raise hands, okay? You can interrupt me anytime. Not a problem at all.
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Sarmat. So happy to see you again. After I think a long time, I attended like 2 trainings with you, 45,001 and 9,001, as you
Great.
remember, Munib.
Great to have you.
So no worries. Thank you so much. So I think continual improvement is like a company is going up and up. Like whenever, if we did a previous audit, so there was some discrepancies on that. So when we did an audit today, so they approve a little bit. So I think that is a continual improvement.
Okay. My question, my open question to everyone in this session is, why do we need continual improvement? What is the need for continual improvement?
To remain in the market, you compete with your other competitors in the organization.
Okay. To
Sir,
improve your,
because there's a
yes.
chance of improvement every time. So if there's a chance of improvement every time, we need to continually improvement.
Okay. So for understanding PDCA cycle, we need to understand continual improvement. For understanding continual improvement, we need to understand efficiency. Okay. Anything what we do, right? We measure our performance. Okay. How good are we? How well are we doing this? Right? So when we measure our performance, we actually say, how efficient are we? How efficient is the process? Okay. So what efficiency exactly is? Efficiency is the amount of inputs that are converted into outputs. That is your efficiency. And you always try to be as efficient as possible. But 100% efficiency is not attainable. It's not possible to have 100% efficiency. You cannot be 100% efficient in anything you do. For example, this training, right? I'm trying to say something, you're perceiving something else. So what I'm trying to say is not 100% efficiency, efficiently received by you. Why? Maybe I am lacking in delivering that. Maybe there's some connection issues. Maybe there's some issues within your environment. So what I mean to say is that there 100% efficiency is not possible. Those of you who have an engineering background will understand this in a better way, that when we talk about efficiency, for example, when we talk about engines, right? No engine can be 100% efficient, right? Every engine loses some sort of energy in one form of the other. So nothing in our universe is 100% efficient. All of the food that we eat, we don't get 100% energy from it. There is some byproducts, some waste products that are extracted. All the energy that we use, we're not using it 100% efficiently. All of the uh, processes that we have are not 100% efficient. So since we cannot attain 100% efficiency, the maximum we can do is improving every time, again and again and again. Okay, that is the maximum we can do to maintain the maximum efficiency is what we can do. So sorry, for that, what we need to do is that we need to be we need to improve continually. So continual improvement is the most closest thing to 100% efficiency. We cannot get 100% efficiency. All we can do is continually improve. Okay, so how do we continually improve? First, we plan to do something. Okay, now we are seeing how we continually improve. So first of all, because we want to do something very efficiently, we plan to do something, right? Then we do that thing based on our planning. So we do it. After we do that, we check that same thing based on our planning, right? How well have we done it? And we have some findings when we check, right? When we check, we get some findings and we act on those findings, right? And when we act on those findings, we include those actions into our planning again. Okay, so this is a continual process. This PDCA is a continual process. This is a continuous process. Okay, it's a cycle that keeps on running, right? So ISO standards have been designed as per the PDCA cycle, right? What we need to understand is that ISO standards have been designed as per the PDCA cycle. In the plan part of the cycle, you are first of all planning on how you're going to do your activities. What your planning is going to be based on is going to be based on the context of your organization, what product you have, what services you have, what customers you have, where are you located, what legal requirements you have to follow, how competent your people are. Then leadership. How will leadership contribute towards controlling the risks? Again, guys, what is the main goal of a management system? Quick question. What is the main goal of a management system?
Provide a hazard-free workplace.
Okay. No, we're talking about any management system, not the health and safety management system, not the quality management system, any management system. We already discussed this. What do you think is the main?
Provide a feedback.
To ensure compliance with the legal standards, international standards.
To obtain the strategic
To manage
goal.
risk and opportunities.
Exactly. The main goal of a management system is risk management. The management system, the word management is to manage the risk. Okay. Management system, when we talk about management system, a management system is there to manage the risk. So first of all, we've got all of this planning, right? All of this planning. This planning for what? For managing the risk. Based on these plannings, we do our activities in such a way that we manage the risk from planning. Okay. And when we have done our activities, we check how we are doing according to the planning. How have we done, right? How have we managed those risks? And next, the act part, we act on our findings. Okay, when you check something, what are the two possible things that can be there? You check
Conformances and non-conformances.
exactly, it is being done right or it is not being done right. Right now, understand the PDCA cycle is about plan, do, check, and act. Okay, now if you are doing something correctly, you have to continually improve. You have to do it better the next time. Okay, for that you have continually improvement. You'll include this again back when you're going to the planning, right? Or if you're not doing something correctly, it is a non-conformity and you take corrective actions, and again those actions are included within the planning. So I hope that you understand the PDCA cycle, the reason for having a PDCA cycle, the main goal of a PDCA cycle, and I hope that you have somewhat an understanding of how these clauses of the standard are structured as per the PDCA cycle. Any questions for this?
No from my side.
Okay, so we do understand that why we have why we need continual improvement, and now we understand that okay, ISO standards are based on the PDCA cycle. Why? For continual improvement. How? Plan has clause 4, 5, and 6 referred to planning. Clause 7 and 8 refer to do. Clause 9 refers to check, and clause 10 refers to act. What about clause 1, 2, and 3?
Non-auditable.
Okay, and what do we mean by non-auditable clauses?
They are just providing information.
Yeah, because they are not our requirements.
Exactly, they are just providing information on the standard. Okay, right. So PDCA is always a process-based approach because PDCA links to efficiency, efficiency links to processes, right? So from the next class, we will try to now what we have to do is that we have to understand the standard. Okay, first of all, we have to understand the requirements of each one of these clauses. For each one of these clauses, what we'll do is that, for example, see clause 4. Clause 4 has 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4. So for each of these clauses, what we will do is that we will open up the standard and we will go through the requirements from the standard. Okay. So once we're done with this, then we will understand the process of auditing. So if I quickly summarize what we've studied today is risks and opportunities. Then we discussed about business risks. Then we discussed what management systems are. We discussed about ISO. We discussed about the history of ISO, the need for ISO. We discussed the relation between a management system and an ISO standard. We discussed about type A and type B standard. We discussed about accreditation and certification, and we discussed about clauses, what clauses are. And now we know how to read a standard, right? And then we discussed the difference between auditable and non-auditable clauses, right? And we also discussed the PDCA cycle, how these clauses, how these standards are based on the PDCA cycle. Okay. So far, do you have any questions for this? Any?
Mr. Sarmad, if you don't mind, I will share you a checklist which I have been made like I think 2 weeks ago for our internal audit, HSE internal audit. So can you check it later on and give me some reviews or like
No,
improvement?
you can just send it to me directly. Inshallah, I'll just refer back to you because we will
Yeah,
discuss this when we are in the later part of the training, right?
sure,
So
sure, sure.
apart from that, guys, any question? Okay. So today's session was more or less about the basics, okay, about the fundamentals, that the basic concepts that you need to understand. I hope all of us have a basic understanding. I hope all of us learned something from this. And inshallah, from the next class, we will start to go through the standard. We'll spend 2 to 3 days on the standard, and then 2 days on the process of the auditing, and then we will move on. We will conduct a virtual mock audit, and inshallah, it's going to be very beneficial for you. And it has been a very interactive session. And guys, I really appreciate you joining, and I really enjoyed. So inshallah, for the next class, we'll start. Okay, Junaid, your question 9,001, 14,000 and 145,000. I'll come back to that question. Inshallah, tomorrow, next class, we'll start off with that.
When will be
So
the next class after tomorrow?
actually, tomorrow I've got an iftar party that is free from the company, so I don't want to do it. I think that it would be nice if I would be there. So after that, inshallah, we'll have these continuous classes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Yes, thank you so much. It was great, and inshallah we'll carry on. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Take
you
It
very
was a
much,
great
sir.
learning from you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Ahmed.
Thank you very much, sir, for your
It was a-
great time.
It was a great learning.
Inshallah, we'll carry on. We'll carry on, inshallah.
And Mr. Sarmad, I already attended it, but I attended it for a review, refresh my mind.
Great.
So I need a little bit support from your side for external audit. So I will ask you later on. Maybe I will share your personal message or.
Not a problem, Moni. Not a problem. Not a problem.
Thank you so much. Huh?
सर
Thank you. Thank you.
सर जी हमको भी पार्टी में लेकर जाइए
यार ये सऊदी में है, अब दुबई में नहीं जाना। सऊदी में है।
ओके सर इंशाल्लाह आपकी मैं एक छोटा सा वो अप्रिसिएशन आपके लिए बताऊं मैंने 2 दफा स्टैंडर्ड डन की लेकिन जो एक्सप्लेनेशन आपकी तरफ से मिली है मुझे लास्ट टाइम ISO 45001 और अब 9001 की तो रियली मैं समझ चुका हूँ कि ISO है क्या
Thank
थैंक
you
यू
so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Wali. Thank you. Inshallah, see you guys day after tomorrow. Inshallah. Take care. Take
थैंक
care.
यू सो मच
Thank you so much.
Okay, good night, sir.
Walaikum Assalam.